Up next in the flurry on the Hot Cage podcast, she's a reporter for Globo.com and can be followed at Evy Rodrigues with an S on Twitter, Evy Rodrigues. She is everywhere. She's Evy Rodrigues. Evy, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing good. Okay, so you are on the ground in Las Vegas and you follow the Brazilian fighters for Globo.com. When we last saw Anderson Silva, he had his belt and his consciousness taken by Chris Weidman. In the wake of that fight, Anderson seemed very disinterested in the fight game. My question is to you, where you think Anderson is at mentally right now?
He's ready mentally. I've been with him like for the whole week. I went to LA last week to talk to him. He's like pretty ready. He's a new guy. I mean, the old guy is back, but as if I don't know if you saw the press conference yesterday. He was already like in a really good humor. He's kind of concentrate and focus on the fight, but he's also like not. He doesn't have like that much pressure on him right now. And I think this is kind of helping him to get focused and to be ready mentally as well.
Okay, so Chris Weidman, we talked about this a little bit before the first fight. He seems like kind of a more technical version of Chael Sonnen. Anderson did much better in his second fight with Chael. So what kind of strategy do you think Anderson's going to have for a second fight with Weidman? Does he just kind of do the same stuff and just maintain his focus better, or does he just completely throw it all out and try something new?
I think he's gonna get into the octagon to try to finish the fight as soon as possible. Anderson has like a history of like trying to getting knockouts after like his losses. So I think he's not gonna be like that. Playing around that much. He's gonna kind of go there, focus on. And I think he's gonna try to knock him out. But you know how he fights, right? He needs to make like the opponent kind of how can I explain? He needs to make the opponent kind of not in his element, to get the knockout. So he said that he's gonna fight the same way he's always did. So I don't really know what to expect for tomorrow. Actually, I just think he's gonna try to get to the knockout like pretty soon.
I agree. Yeah, I think we could probably expect a really great fight. So you and I talked about this earlier in the week. So if Anderson wins this fight, do you think that Dana White plans to have these two fight a trilogy fight? Do you think that's something Anderson would even be interested in?
Dana said yesterday that all depends on how the fight goes. Like if he wins in a way that the last fight ended, like pretty clearly that he won, they are not going to do like trilogy. And I think Anderson is not really interested in that if he wins. He's probably wanted to move on and just to face another fighter as he always did, like in the past. So I think if he wins, the trilogy is something that is not in his plans right now.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing about these trilogies. I mean, they're kind of interesting for the fans, but they take up so much time of a fighter's career with one guy. I mean, you figure you fight every 3 to 6 months. So now you're training, and then over that time of just focusing on one guy, as much as fans like it, it seems like for a fighter, unless the money's there, it's kind of a wasted effort. So what do you think is in Anderson Silva's future if he wins the fight, and what do you think he's going to do if he loses?
He said in some interviews that he could retire. He said in another interview that he's kind of playing that Roy Jones Jr. fight. And to me, he said that he will face Vitor Belfort. Like, he has no problems like facing him again. So who knows? And he's kind of joking around a lot in interviews, Like, it's not everything that he's saying that you can really, really take serious, So I think he's going to keep fighting. I think he's going to try to do fights that motivates him. Like the Roy Jones Jr. fight is something that he really wanted. But UFC already said that he needs to face Belfort first, to get this Roy Jones Jr. fight coming, So I think he face Belfort if he wins.
Yeah,
Saturday night.
Yeah, I kind of heard some of that too. It's funny, you can almost, if you pay close enough attention to Dana White, I think sometimes you can sort of read the tea leaves as to what he's thinking. And whereas he had no interest in the Roy Jones Jr. fight before, he's sort of opened up to the idea a little bit now, and I think maybe that was part of the negotiations between him and Anderson as far as how Anderson moves forward. Because, as we've seen with George St. Pierre, if these guys walk away, I mean, that's it. I mean, they're no longer a commodity to you, and when they have as much money as they do, it's that kind of thing is always on the table. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears. I understand you got to spend some time with Ronda Rousey last night. So my question is, once upon a time, Ronda had the mental and the physical edge over Meisha. Meisha's admitted that Ronda was in her head and she was jealous of her, and all that kind of stuff. It seems like to me, the gap has closed somewhat on the mental side. First off, do you agree with that assessment? And secondly, do you think the gap has closed at all physically?
I agree, but at the same time, like we just saw like these two girls talking about each other for so long, you never know how it's gonna be like once that cage closed, right? And seems like Ronda is not really getting Meisha that nervous anymore. Like she has like the mental game really ready. But as she was saying yesterday, like I know how is inside the cage, how it is to be inside the cage with her, and she's gonna remember once I get there how it was the last time. So I think this is something that can maybe play against Meisha as well. And I understand that she trains a lot, and she's kind of trying to overcome like the things that happened before, but Ronda is still the champion, like the UFC champion, and I think, even if Meisha says that she's not jealous anymore, I don't know. I think something is not really, really like that.
Yeah, it's interesting you would say that because I was watching their countdown for those two, and it seems like Ronda is always like one step ahead of Meisha. So even when Meisha seems like she makes her peace with something and gets to a better place mentally, Ronda's already moved on to the next thing where she's, back in Misha's head in a different way. Like now I think that everybody seems like there's such a backlash on Ronda and that's going to affect her. I really don't think it will. I think that she is already kind of taking the high road. Like, during the Ultimate Fighter, I don't care how I came off. I was just there for the other fighters. And I think she believes that, and it may be true. So I think that the things that people may think that are going to affect Ronda may not. Now, one thing that may affect Ronda is that while she is the champion, she's only fought once since she's been in the UFC, which seems insane with how much she's covered and how much we see her. So do you think her inactivity will be an issue for her on Saturday night?
Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. Like she said that she wanted to do things in a hard way. That's why she was like filming, in Bulgaria and in Atlanta, and also trying to train to do the preparation for this fight while she was shooting the movies, because she wanted to do something in a hard way because she already beat Meisha and she already has the UFC back. So no, Ronda seems to me like that everything works in her life like that, She likes a lot of challenge. She likes adrenaline, and seems that she wants to make things like difficult to achieve her goals, And I don't know, for Meisha right now, I think that she's in a really better place than she was before, just because like she got a lot of exposure for the Ultimate Fighter, but she also is coming from a loss to Catherine Gano, and her performance in that night was not really that well, right? So it all depends on like how they are going to be mentally, like emotionally on Saturday night. I mean, I can't really say to you like everything that I saw this week. I don't know. Ronda seems to me like really ready mentally too, And she comes from like Olympic Games, she has a judo background. I think she's really used to pressure, and maybe she's just like playing, like trying to act as maybe this is part of her mental game too. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny. The funny thing about being in someone's head is that whenever they're sort of talking about you, or even when they say that you're not in their head anymore, you're still kind of in their head in a way. Isn't that funny? But I don't know. I don't know if Ronda's out of Misha's head. I don't know if Meisha is at a place where she can get past this. I think that she may be. I think that if you were to sit down and make a list of all the things Meisha does well and all the things Ronda does well, I think Meisha does more things well than Ronda does in terms of.
She's like, yeah, I agree. She's like well-rounded, right?
Right, but
the one thing that
Ronda does, she does way better than Meisha. So that's the problem. All right, so there you have. So I mean, are you going to make an official prediction for this fight or no?
I don't really know. It's hard when you just spend like the whole week with them and watch like some trains, some training sessions. You don't really. I have I have no idea right now who's gonna win.
You know, it's funny.
Uh,
I talked to a buddy of mine who gambles because I don't, and it's one of those things where the more you know, the more it's like paralysis by analysis. The more you know,
yeah.
the more difficult it becomes because you go, well, Meisha could do this or Ronda could do that, so it starts to get, you know.
And I've watched like both of them training this week, and I was like, oh, Meisha is training really good, like she's really ready. And then I watched it Ronda's and I was like, oh my god, I just don't know right now.
Well, you know what?
I'm
though?
really excited for this fight, but
I
I
know
don't know.
that at the end of the day is the best part about it is that when you see two fighters that are super motivated and you can't make a pick, maybe it just means that we're going to get a great night of fights, which I think that we will. Okay, so there you have it. She's the best reporter Globo.com has, in my opinion, and a great follow on Twitter. It again is Vevy Rodrigues with an S, so Evy Rodrigues. Thanks again, Evy, and talk to you soon. Enjoy the fights.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.